Hi, welcome back again. So, Sifu, this time, could you maybe put a few words on BIU JI? What is BIU JI and what is BIU JI not?
Okay. First of all, BIU JI, the name of the form, has been enormously misunderstood over the years as some kind of thrusting deadly fingers. Actually, the word BIU means to point in the direction of something. And the name of the form has been reduced from the original. My Sifu believe that the form was originally referred to as BIU JI. BIU JI is 3 characters, meaning pointing at the moon finger. Literally like Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, don't concentrate on the finger or you'll miss all that heavenly glory. He was actually talking about the concept of Ving Tsun and what BIU JI form is meant to be, which is to step outside of the, let's say, the sphere or the box that contains the essential basic essence of what Ving Tsun is, and say, okay, if all of that is not working, if somehow that fails, what can we do to still survive an encounter? And as such, BIU JI or BIU JI, the moon pointing finger form, is about looking at Ving Tsun from the outside in and not thinking about trying to win a fight, but trying to understand the concept of if you're really in trouble, what are the mechanisms you could try to use to survive? It's not a deadly form at all. It's about having an open mind to the possibility that rules and guidelines and concepts are all very well and good, but sometimes all rules have to be bent, if not broken, because they don't always apply 100%. So in the BIU JI form, you actually break a lot of the rules that you've been hammered with since you began training. It might be for years you've been training Ving Tsun before you learn BIU JI form, depending on the instructor's willingness to share it. Because in the olden times, there was an expression that BIU JI never goes out the door. And a lot of people misinterpreted that as some kind of indication that the form was so dangerous and so deadly that you couldn't share it with just anyone. Actually, my belief is, and the belief of my Sifu Wong Sun Leung was, that the reason the form wasn't shared is because it actually exposes weaknesses in Ving Tsun theory. And if the outsiders got a better idea of what the weaknesses are inherent in our Ving Tsun theory and structure, they might be able to use that against us. Hence, the form was not shared too readily, just in case it got into the hands of people who might use it against us. So, normally we say from lesson 1, don't cross your hands, don't use excessive strength, don't extend your body, don't turn so that you're not facing, etc., etc. Rule and concept and guideline one after the other that tells us all the essential things we need to know to make Ving Tsun work. In BIU JI, from the very first opening movements of the form, we break all those rules. We bend all those concepts. We ignore all those words of advice. The question, therefore, is why? Why would we go against the theory? The answer actually is surprisingly simple. If I don't put myself in a bad situation, I will never know how to get out of a bad situation. So you deliberately make errors in order to explore the ways that you might use to get out of them. So why is BIU JI not taught early? Because we don't want to spend a lot of time on techniques we hope we never want to use. So the best parts of Ving Tsun are Siu Tao, Chum Kill, and the wooden dummy. The wooden dummy sits on the edge between Siu Tao, Chum Kill form and their ideas and BIU JI form's ideas. It's kind of a bridge between the two. Because in the wooden dummy form, we're looking at situations where victory is still quite possible and very likely. Small errors, minor mistakes can be easily corrected. BIU JI is a whole different world. It's about when things go really, really wrong. And maybe you can't actually win the fight at all. But you were trying to survive. Just like a businessman, if you and I are running a business and you're working on the books and you realize, oh, I've just found that we're going to lose $1 million this year. And I say to you, $1 million? Surely there's something we can do. So you say, well, there's this, we could do this and this and this, and we might only lose $500,000. And I think, well, $500,000, that's not bad, but is there something better we can do? Well, if we move this account and we juggle with this account and do this blah, 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 maybe we can only lose $250,000. So I've got an option, lose $1 million, use $500,000, or lose $250,000. Of course, I'll go for the smallest option. we're still losing, but we're losing less. That's what BIU JI is about. It's about cutting your losses. So you may not beat your opponent, but you get away with most of your body intact. Take the opening movement. Normally in the forms, we throw a punch, we open, we circle, we come back. But in BIU JI, we don't. We punch, yes, same as before, but then we do these actions. Sabjisa, or character 10 hand. Other families of Wing Chun do it differently. They do a smaller action with the hand. But for us, it's a much larger movement using the shoulder. Now, one of the rules that's established early in our training is don't use your shoulder. Here we are at the very opening of the form, teaching our students to use their shoulder. Why? If I've got two hands, I can use them both equally well against my opponent. What if in the course of the assault, I get stabbed or glassed or somehow my arm is damaged, maybe breaks my arm, and now I've got one hand? I can't afford to get in close against a two-handed man with one hand, because no matter how good I am with one hand, at this range you can still overtake it. So what do I have to do? I have to make sure there's a bigger range. So if you attack me now, I'm trying to keep you away until I can either hit you or escape, or maybe both. So we've already looked at a situation where I'm not able-bodied, I'm limited in what I can do. So what's the solution? The solution is change your range, change your strategy, use a bigger muscle area than you would normally use. And I could go on because there are lots of examples. The whole form is full of examples like that when you're in trouble. For example, if I'm pinned up against a wall, if you can imagine a wall here, and my body's all crossed over. Well, I can't get out by pushing back, but I can redirect the energy. Hence, right at the beginning of the form, these very large actions where we send what people call biuzao, the spearing action, we send it in front of the shoulder, not into the middle. Because if I'm all pinned up like this and I try to go down the middle and Morten's really putting pressure there, I can't get out. But if I don't fight that force, if I actually move in a different direction, now I can get out. So it gives me a solution to an otherwise impossible situation. Normally, if people get frightened, if someone comes up and goes, "Ugh," in your face, most humans will react this way. Well, that's a pretty dangerous situation, because if I do that, if Morten comes up and reaches at me and I do this, he can grab both my arms, and now it's very hard to get out of here because there's not enough strength in my shoulders to get out of this situation. But if I create a second tier of power by bringing my hand to my body and shifting the angle, I can take him off balance very, very quickly. But the majority of people, again, they misunderstand. I don't know exactly what they think they're doing, but they're waving their arms in the air. It's actually not an arm action. It's about elbows and pulling the body. Easy demonstration. My hand is here and Morten puts his palms underneath and I try to push down with my elbow and you resist. It's very difficult to move his arms. But if I connect my hand to my body, use the same power, it's very easy to move his arms. It's all about leverage and strategy. So that's a simple introduction to the idea of BIU JI. It's about as deadly as a bowl of wet spaghetti if you don't understand it. But if you understand it, it's a very useful way to think outside the box. But as a parting thought, I'll leave you with the words that my Sifu gave us about BIU JI form. He said, hope that you never have to use it. Because if you're required to use techniques from BIU JI form, you're already in a lot of trouble. Best to work on Sin Tao and Cham Kil so you don't get yourself into trouble.
Wow, thanks. It was very helpful.
Welcome.
Thanks.